Chapter 2258. Return to where you came from. Chapter 2258. Return to where you came from. Were they attracted to Yi Futian? Looking at what was happening in the original realm, it was speculated that someone must have notified the greatest entities of the existing forces. Great Emperor Ziwei's inheritance, and the sacred remains of Xinjia the Great Emperor. These were all inherited powers of the highest tier. It was not all that surprising that beings of that level were attracted here. In this world, who does not want to be on top? If one hailed as king gazed upon the mountains below, what would they see? Another terrifying aura descended. In another direction, someone arrived. It was a super powerhouse from the Divine Prefecture. He was the third person to arrive. The three aces that came did not attack Yi Futian immediately. For them, taking down Yi Futian did not have too much significance. After all, it was Xinjia the Great Emperor's power that Yi Futian was borrowing. It was not his own power. That attack that he unleashed earlier was probably the limit of his strength. There was no way he could maintain control over Xinjia the Great Emperor's body and fight continuously. Their problem was not Yi Futian. Instead, it was among those who had arrived and who could snatch Yi Futian. At this moment, the space was torn apart, and divine light flickered. Yet another powerhouse had arrived. This being was from the empty divine realm. The divine light of space surrounded him from head to toe. Seeing this scene, the crowd below was already kind of used to it. Originally, they thought the battle between the top powers would decide the outcome of this great battle. However, none of them had anticipated that things would evolve into this current state. Many of the top figures who came previously were spectators. With great powers arriving one after another, no one was expecting them to do anything. I would advise you too not to interfere with the Divine Prefecture's affairs, the Taichu Saint Emperor said in a chilly tone. Ziwei and Xinjia are both great emperors of the Age of the Gods. Since when is this the Divine Prefecture's affair? The ace from the empty divine realm faintly answered. He does not care about his opinion at all. Now that the inheritances of two great emperors were passed on to one single person, how could they possibly not fight for it? The Taichu Saint Emperor snorted. He moved his hand towards the lower sky across the void, only to see several others releasing formidable auras at the same time. Despite having the body of Xinjia the Great Emperor before him, it was actually levitating in the air. Yi Futian had seemingly entered an unconscious state, and could no longer control Xinjia the Great Emperor's body. The aces from the Heavenly Mandate Academy completely altered their expressions. They wanted to move, but they discovered that the power of the great path of this realm was seemingly being controlled and locked away by somebody. The starry phenomenon they could not even move grew even more dazzling power and had them all shocked as it resonated
Many
with his
were
body.
struggling as they
All the
stared at the
cultivators
body of
sensed that
Xinjia
his
the
body
Great
had
Emperor,
merged with the
hovering
starry
in
world.
midair.
Colorful
Those who were
starlight
familiar
shone
with
continuously
Yi Futian
from
had
his
red
body.
eyes.
But no matter how hard they struggled, it was
eyes
futile.
narrowed as they
With
sensed
four
the
of the
power
greatest
of the great
existences
path being
moving against
strengthened
them,
in Yi Futian's body.
this realm was completely
Suddenly,
dominated
many other divine
and could not
phenomena
accommodate
burst forth
anybody
in tandem
else's
with
power.
the starlight.
People from
There was
the
the
sound
sound
of
of
the
rhythms,
palace were
the hum
slightly
of
pissed
swords,
when they saw
and
this.
the trumpeting of the
They also
divine
felt
elephants.
confused.
The
When they
divine
had
light of
just
his eye
recognized
sorcery
Yi
was
Futian's
mesmerizing.
abilities.
On
On
top
top
of
of this
that,
happened,
an
who
absolute
else could
space
save
appeared
Yi
with the
Futian?
sun.
The
And the
outcome was
moon
clear.
both present along
At this
with the
moment,
stars.
the
It was
Taichu
as though
Saint
the
Emperor
endless
and the
power
rest
of
of
the
the
Titans
Titans
was
raised their
being
heads and
generated in
glanced
it.
at the sky
Roar.
above.
Everyone in the
Tyrannical
starry
auras
sky
could
could
detect
detect
from
the
all
growling
directions.
that was reverberating
It
from
seemed
Yi
that several
Futian's
auras
body.
had descended.
His flesh was the
and were
way.
pressing down
The
upon
rumble
the
of the
entire
great
path
heavenly
grew more
mandate
intense.
city.
Everyone in
entire
heavenly
starry
mandate
sky
city
to
felt the
resonate with
supreme
it.
authority of
It was
heaven.
as though the stars
Above
in
the
the sky
sky
were howling.
divine light
Was Yi
circulated.
Futian about to
The
break
might of the
through to
great
the
path
next plane?
descended. The hearts
Countless
of all the
people
cultivators
experienced
present
difficulty
quivered.
in moving.
Yi Futian
As they
was
felt a
already a
faint
sixth
urge to
tier
grovel
and
if he
offer
broke
their
through
worship.
to the next
The
plane.
storm was
He would
seemingly
become
getting
a
more and
high-level
more
intense,
intense,
beyond all
Moreover,
control.
he seemed to have
Even
broken
making
through
felt
to
the
the sixth
unrivaled
tier not
might.
long ago.
Amid battlefields
that
of
his
his level,
recent experience
he was completely
catalyzed his
powerless,
progress in
unless
becoming
the
a
few that
high-level
arrived
Ren
could
Huang?
affect the
If
war
so,
field
the
itself.
rate of his improvement was
Futian fall
undoubtedly
over
shocking.
here?
No
With
one
Yi
knew what he
Futian's
would plan
combat
going
ability,
forward. He was
judging
most
by
likely
his personality,
invincible among
he would
everyone below
probably
the
take the
giant
battle
level
back to
figures.
them. After
A
becoming
precious
a
stone
high-level
leads its
Ren
owner
Huang.
to trouble.
The divine
After Yi
phenomena in the
Futian
sky
acquired the power
intensified.
of the inheritance,
Starlight surged into
he became
Yi
too
Futian's body.
attractive. Everyone's
powerful
prediction
an
was
entity,
verified.
the stronger they would
desire
desire
to
trying
see
to break
such power
through to the next
and
plane.
comprehend the
He
might
was
of a
pushing
great
to cast
emperor.
off the shackles
What's more,
of the middle-level
great
Renhuang
emperor
plane,
Xinjia and
so
Ziwei
that
were
he could
both
advance
advanced
to a higher level.
strength.
As
Yi
far as
Futian
great
felt his
emperors
body
went.
become one
Back
with the
in
starry
ancient
skies.
times,
Everywhere
they were on
his
par
mind
with
ventured
overlords,
to,
and
it
were
became his
existences
territory.
at the top of the
His
game.
spiritual
But
soul
the
and his
inheritance
flesh
of
were
two
merging the
aces was
worldly
now in
great
Yi
path,
Futian's hands,
and were indestructible.
How was it possible
This
for him not
sensation
to
was
attract the
miraculous.
jealousy of others?
The divine light
Above
of the
the
great
sky,
path shone
palms
brighter
were extended
as he entered deeper
simultaneously,
into this state.
moving toward
The
body of
blinding divine
Xinjia, the
light
great
brightened
emperor.
up the entire
Within
starry
a fraction
sky.
of a second,
This commotion
a
caused
cataclysmic
everyone to
storm
raise
erupted.
their heads and
It
stare
used
at
the
the
body
sky.
of Xinjia,
Their
the
hearts
great
were
emperor,
trembling.
as its center.
It was too intense.
Several energies
It's the
emerged
first
at the
time
same
I witnessed
time,
such a huge
causing a
commotion
horrifying
when
fissure
someone
to
is trying to
transpire in
break
that
through
space.
to the high-level
The
Renhuang
original
plane.
realm belongs to the
Renhuang
divine
Chen
prefecture.
said.
He was
The
the
arrival
supreme
of the
elder
dark
Ziwei
world
imperial
empty
palace.
divine realm is a
He had
violation.
seen countless
Could it
prominent
be
figures
desires
and
war?
proud sons of
A
heavens,
rumbling voice
pushing
sounded
to
amid
break
the
through
void,
to the high-level
striking
Renhuang
fear
plane.
into the hearts of people.
However, you
None
are
of
dealing
them were
with an
comparable
entity
to
of the
Yi
divine
Futian.
prefecture.
This commotion was too shocking.
There is no
Yi
need to
Futian was
glorify your
resonating
own
with the
actions.
entire starry
Someone
world.
responded with
Emperor
a sneer.
Shi and the rest
a
nodded
terrifying
in
aura
agreement.
pressed down from the vault.
The body
They
of
were similarly
Xinjia, the great
taken aback
emperor,
by what
shuttled
they
in
saw,
and out the
Emperor
fissure,
Shi added,
as if a tug of
besides
war.
that, for Yi
Appalling
Futian,
energy sealed
it
off
seems
heavenly
that the
mandate
bottleneck
city.
to reach the
It
high-level
felt as if
Renhuang
no one
plane
was
is
allowed to
non-existent.
escape.
There
and
are no
everyone had
shackles,
to remain within.
and he can forcefully
At this
break
very
through to the
moment,
next
the sky
plane.
trembled.
It was
and a
tough for
daunting aura
countless
swept over
cultivators
them.
to retain
In
their
an
flawless
instant,
great path,
heavenly mandate
while
city
breaking
no longer
through to the
looked like a
high-level
city.
Renhuang plane.
What's going on?
However,
The
it seemed
powerhouses
to be an
that
easy
were
fight
fighting
for
the
Yi
body of
Futian.
Xinjia,
He could
the
forcefully
great
break
emperor,
through the
knitted
shackles
their
right
eyebrows
away.
together.
Finally,
They raised their
streaks of
heads and
divine
looked at
light
the
shot
sky,
up to the heavens
only
from
to
Yi
see a
Futian's
streak
body.
of divine light
All the
pierce
divine
highest
wheels
point
of the
in
great
heaven.
path that
A
surrounded
muffled
him
sound arose,
emitted rumbles
and
of
the
the great
energy that
path
had the
at the
great
same
path
time.
shackled was
Then,
instantly broken.
the crowd saw
The
Yi
eyes of
Futian
several
slowly
top
opening
aces
his eyes
penetrated
while
the
sitting
boundless
cross-legged.
space.
His silver hair
their
fluttered
perception
into
to
a
a
very
very
distant place.
His temperament was
A streak of
extraordinary.
divine light came
the
from
divine
beyond
light
the realm
moved around him,
and instantly
the aura on Yi
illuminated the
Futian's
world.
body changed.
Subsequently,
It became even
what
more
seemed like a
frightening
face
than
appeared
before.
beyond the clouds.
Moreover, it
It
had
was an
undergone
old
a
man with a
quantitative
sage-like
metamorphosis,
demeanor,
who
who
seemingly
seemingly
now
had
a
powers
high-level
that were beyond
7th-tier
reach.
Renhuang.
At this
Someone
moment,
said as the crowd
it felt
watched
as
with
if he were the
astonished looks
supreme
in their
ruler
eyes.
of this realm,
Yi Futian
and the
breaking
representative
through
of
to
the
the great
high-level
path of
Renhuang
this
plane
segment
was a
in space.
significant event.
Who is it?
I have broken
Someone
through to
shuddered
the
on
next
the inside.
plane.
Said
What kind
Yi
of
Futian
power was
as
he
this?
let out a long breath?
What level were they at?
It was essential
Some
for
were
him
able
to
to
break through
recognize
to
this
the next
person.
plane this
They
time.
revealed shock
in his
in their
current
eyes.
situation,
How can
he
this
would
be?
be facing
What
more and
level
more
is he at
powerful
exactly?
adversaries.
They wondered.
It was already
None of
difficult
the
for
top
him to
powers
cope
from
as
the
a
6th-tier
sixth-tier
Renhuang
looked unsurprised.
Even as a 7th-tier
All of their
Renhuang,
hearts were
he was
trembling
pushing
violently.
it.
However,
the face glanced
using
at
the
Xinjia,
body
the
of
great
Xinjia, the
emperor's
great
body.
emperor,
In an
he could still
instant,
shock
rays
and
of
of the
divine
various
light
cultivators
entered the body
with
of the
his abilities.
Xinjia, the great
It would
emperor.
be challenging
A
for him
phantom was
to bear
directly
such a
forced
burden
out of the remains.
now that his
It was Yi
cultivation
Futian's
plane had
spiritual
increased.
soul.
His
Yi
endurance had
Futian's
also
spiritual
improved
soul left the
substantially.
body of
Aside
Xinjia, the
from
great
him and
emperor,
master,
and returned
no
to
one
his
could
own
control
flesh.
the power of
However,
Xinjia, the
he had
great emperor.
seemingly tapped into
Now that
an
the body had
unconscious
been
state.
brought back to
On
Four
the other
Corner Village
side,
by master,
the eyes of
Yi
Xinjia, the great
Futian would
emperor,
need to
abruptly
return to the
opened.
village when
Horrifying
he had the chance.
divine light pierced
With the
through
body of
space and
Xinjia,
swept
the
across
great
the
emperor, by
aces.
his side,
A voice
he
sounded
would at
from
least
his
have a
mouth.
powerful weapon
Return to
as
where
a
you
trump
came
card.
from.
After breaking through to the next plane,
Yi
Chapter
Futian's figure headed
2259,
downwards. Imperial
the various
realm?
cultivators
Chapter
all came to him.
2259.
The millet emperor
Imperial
said,
realm?
Back
Return
when you
to where
first
you
joined
came from.
Wuxian
That
Watchtower,
simple sentence
the four
was
most
seemingly
prominent
imbued
figures
with
in the Donghua
unparalleled
domain were
dominance.
still out of reach
Evidently,
for you.
I
The
never
one
imagined
controlling
that
the
in a
body
few
of
short
Xinjia, the
years,
great
you
emperor, was
managed
no
to reach
longer
this
Yi
plane.
Futian.
Now,
Just now,
you will most
Yi
likely be
Futian's
on par
spiritual
with
soul was
Ninghua and
already
the
knocked
others.
back into his own
Millet
flesh.
Emperor was emotional
Another
right
ace
now.
had taken over
It was was unfortunate that his disciple Zhong Chan had been killed by from beyond the sky a moment
not
before.
reached this stage.
Powerhouses
Otherwise,
of the divine
he too
prefecture
would have
knew
continued to
that
grow.
only two people
Ning
could
Hua
control the body of
repeated
Xinjia,
Futian.
the great emperor.
When he heard this name,
one of them was Yi
a murderous
Futian,
intent
and
flashed
the other
past
one
in
was
his
the
eyes.
master of Four Corner Village.
He
The
would
mysterious
sooner or later
and
kill
powerful
this
figure
vice chief of
who
the
shocked the
Donghua
aces
domain
in the battle
will
at the
first return
Shangqing
to the
domain's
original
Four Corner
realm
Village
and deal with the
Evidently,
forces there.
The one who
said
came
Yi
was the
Futian.
master of Four
Lord
Corner
Taishan,
Village,
and the
Did
rest
he come
nodded
from the
in
Shangqing
agreement.
domain
After
because
delaying
he
the
sensed
matter
what
for
was
so
happening?
long,
Master,
it was indeed time
the
to settle
villagers'
the
hearts
score
were
with them.
thumping rapidly.
If you find any
At
errors,
such a crucial
broken
moment,
links,
the master had
non-standard
arrived like a
content,
god
etc.,
descending into the
please
world.
let us know so
in
we
their
can
knowledge,
fix it as soon as
this
possible.
was the first time the
Tip.
master had
You
entered
can
this
use
world
left,
in
right,
a true sense.
A and D keyboard
Previously,
keys to browse
in the
between
battle where
chapters.
various forces of the Shangqing domain raided Four Corner Village. Chapter
master merely
2266.
borrowed the body of Xinjia, the great
Chapter
emperor, to partake in the
2266.
battle outside
Wait
the
at the
village.
heavenly mandate
However,
academy.
this time,
A
they
streak
had
of
clearly
divine light of
witnessed the
space
master
shot
arriving
down
from
from
beyond
sky,
the clouds,
as if it originated
descending
from
upon
beyond
this
the
very
vault of the
location.
world.
As
It
they thought
immediately
before,
opened up a
nobody
space
knew the
passage.
master's background.
Subsequently,
Nor did
a group
anyone
of
know
people
how
appeared
powerful
and
he
descended
was.
within the
So how
heavenly
strong
mandate
was the
academy.
master exactly?
At this moment,
Legend had it that
aces
the
of the
village
heavenly
encountered
mandate
another
academy
catastrophe
looked
at
in
an
one
earlier
direction in
time.
concert.
Powerful beings
Which was the
forced their
direction
way
where
into
the teleportation
teleportation
grand matrix
and were
was
repelled
located.
by the master.
The great lord had
Subsequently,
returned.
the great
Futian,
emperor
he should be
issued
back
a
as
ban.
well. And
Beyond
since
the
then,
heavenly mandate
nobody
academy,
dared to enter
a
Four
group
Corner
of people
Village
was
to cause
levitating
trouble.
in the air and
This was
striding
all until the
forward.
ban was breached.
Seeing that the white-haired
Ultimately
youth was
leading
among
to the
those
raid
people,
within the
the
Shangqing
cultivators
domain.
of the
But
heavenly
even during
mandate
that
academy
time,
sighed
nobody
in
could
relief,
see through the
as
master's
they had
power.
anticipated. Then what about
Futian
today?
was there.
The moment
They
the
all
master
believed that
descended,
even after being
it
severely
seemed as if his
wounded,
might enveloped the
Futian would
entire
eventually
heavenly mandate
recover.
realm.
As he
Even
was the
when several
embodiment of miracles
superpowers who have gone
themselves.
through a level 2
Besides,
divine tribulation
it could
arrived,
be noticed that
the master still made them go back to where they came
even
from.
more exceptional.
Who was the master?
In the same white
what level was
clothes
his
and same white
cultivation
hair.
base at?
His aura
Back
already
then,
gave people
why
the
did the
feeling
master
of a
tell
powerful
them that they
figure.
must not leave
It
the
felt
village?
even stronger than
No
the
one
aura
knew the answer.
he had during the
The
last
master
great
was
battle.
probably the only
Could it be
person
that he had
knew.
attained yet
The
another
aces
breakthrough?
of the heavenly
The
mandate
heartbeats
academy
of many
were
throbbed.
already feeling
If their
helpless.
guesses were correct.
However,
right now,
little
Yi
did they
Futian
know
would
that
already
at this
be a
moment,
high-level Ren
an
Huang,
elder descended
genuinely
like a god
embarking on the path
towards
towards
the
Yi
peak.
Futian.
Cultivators
Controlling
in the
the
heavenly
body of
mandate
Xinjia, the
academy
great emperor.
were unlike before.
Besides, looking
Their
at the
outlook of the
reaction
world
of some
was
of the
not at
aces
all
above
low.
the sky.
Regular
They
high-level
seemed
Ren
afraid
Huangs could
and
no
were
longer
faintly
make them
shocked.
feel surprised. After
This
all,
person may
they
be
had
a
met
super
top
powerful
aces from
existence.
various worlds.
A few top
However,
figures,
Yi Futian was
including the
different.
Taichu Saint
Should he
Emperor,
step into
were
high-level
staring
Ren
at the
Huang,
body of Xinjia,
the
the great
significance
emperor.
would be extraordinary.
At this very instant,
the group of people
things
came
were
in
much
front of an
different from
enormous
when they
hall.
were facing Yi
Aces
Futian.
from all places
All of them were
gathered
feeling
over.
an intense
All
threat.
of them were familiar
The moment
figures,
the gust of might
and they all
descended,
discovered the
they already
changes in Yi
sensed that this
Futian's
powerhouse
body,
who came
have you
from
attained
beyond
a
the
breakthrough,
clouds,
was more
Shen
profound
Luoxua
in
asked
terms
Yi
of
Futian while
cultivation
facing
base.
him.
Having
She felt that
arrived
Yi
at the
Futian
unknown.
was kind of different.
However, they still
Yeah.
could not determine
Yi
if he
Futian
was
nodded.
at that level.
Shen Luoxua
But even
was
if he were not
speechless.
there yet,
This man's
he would
speed
also
and
be
cultivation
infinitely
was
close
truly
to it.
terrifying.
Four Corner
On this
Village
very
master,
day,
she could
the
still
Taichu Saint
remember the
Emperor
scene
looked
where
at
Yi
the body and
Futian
would
would
save
save the
Qi
great
Xiange
emperor
and asked.
His growth was
Every
too quick.
single person
Because
living in
of
the
him,
area Donghuang
the Shen
the Great
clan
once
became a
barred.
thing of the past.
Even those in the
Their
other
members
realms
had either left
would have
or
also
were
heard
scattered
of Four
about.
Corner Village.
Even Shen
It was the
Luoxua felt
mysterious
kind of bad
master's
about
first
what had taken
appearance,
place.
in a sense.
After
At
all,
this very moment,
she was once a
he
member
lost
of the
the
Shen
domineering
clan.
confidence
The blood
he had
that
before.
flowed within her was
This
the
storm
same
would
as
perhaps
those from the Shen
venture towards
clan.
a different outcome.
Speaking of which,
Go back.
her emotions
The
toward Yi
master's voice
Futian were
sounded
somewhat
once again.
complicated.
His voice was
However,
still extremely
having
serene.
cultivated until
However,
her level,
in the midst
it was
of the
entirely
peace and
normal
calm
for
with
the state of her
confidence
mind
without
to alter,
compare.
as he
She
asked
knew that
these
Yi
top
Futian could not
powerhouses
be
who
blamed
arrived
for
to
whatever
return
happened.
themselves. The powerhouses in the
Even
void
if
were
Yi Futian
naturally
did not
unwilling.
kill them himself,
They were still
the
standing
Sky
where
River
they had
Great
been,
Elder would,
exuding
and if the
might
Sky
that was
River Great
horrifying
Elder
to the
were the one
extreme.
who arrived.
It seemed as if
Perhaps
they
she
wanted
would
to
feel
give it a
even
go.
more pain.
The master
Besides,
naturally knew what
after
they were
the
thinking.
catastrophe,
The eyes of
the Sky
Xinjia,
River
the great
Emperor
elder,
swept
swept
towards
that
the
he would not
Taichu Saint
exterminate
Emperor
nor
nor
drive
void,
away those
with
from
only
the Shen
one
clan.
glance.
Following
Unceasing
the
deaths
deaths of
of a few
runes
of the
emerged
Shen
above the
clan's
major
skies
figures,
and arranged
the
themselves
grudge they
into a
shared could be
horrifying
considered
pattern,
alleviated.
seemingly forming
Yi
a
Futian
realm of
also
its own.
asked about some
With this
things going
glance,
on in the
void
original
did not
realm at
crumble,
this point, nor did
the
the
Shen
Great Path
clan
crack.
and the Golden Divine
However,
Nation were no
the
more,
original Great Path
and all
was
of their top
seemingly
aces
replaced.
were killed,
Morphing
However,
into a
many
world of
forces were
absolute
still
space.
alive.
But
That was
many
a
forces
picture.
had been
The
disbanded,
domineering golden
and they
bird,
had come previously
a golden
to seek
winged
peace
giant
and
pung bird of
forgiveness.
boundless
However,
sacredness
that was
split the
by
world
no means
apart,
an easy thing to
annihilating
accomplish.
all that existed.
Lord
The
Taixian,
Taichu Saint
please
Emperor's
order
face
our men
changed
to copy a
suddenly.
message the
He
forces
rushed
of
into
the
the
nine
sky
realms
with the intent to
tell
escape.
them that the heavenly
However,
mandate academy
his
is
was calling them for a gathering at our premises. At the level of the Taichu said to Lord Taishian, a single stride of his could span across the infinite space. Although Yi Futian was the Heavenly Mandate Academy's core figure, Heavenly Mandate he was still the Heavenly Mandate Academy's college chief. He could not escape the domineering had always shown him much respect. In that picture world, had asked him to issue the order. Giant Peng bird went rampant across the skies. Lord. With one single blow, Lord, it raised all that existed. And many more. The crowd saw the Taichu Saint Emperor. The journey to the 9 realms is a long one. He vomited blood from his mouth. All of you to make it possible. Seemed unstoppable. Travel to the 9 realms and tell the various forces to make a trip to our academy. One single glance was very as powerful as the Taichu Saint Emperor. The people did not have any opinions. They discussed among each other about their respective destinations. People could not even escape and set off directly. What kind of level was that? Some of them used the heaven and matrix of space to travel to the central Emperor realm. Top figures from the dark world into the void to various divine realm. Seeing
divine
the aces
prefecture
traveling into
and
the
the
void,
original realm
ripples
of
of
the
emotion
segmentum were
surfaced
shocked.
within the hearts
Their
of the
hearts
Heavenly
beating
Mandate
rapidly.
Academy's cultivators.
Many of them had heard of the
For the
Master's
Heavenly
battle
Mandate
against
Academy
the
to gather
patriarch
the
of the
various
Nanhai
forces,
family,
it
using
seemed
the
that
body
they
of
wished to
Shinjia,
solve
the
all
great
grievances
emperor.
once
However,
and for all.
comparing that
After
battle
hearing
with the
this,
scene before them,
cultivators
it was
of Heavenly
unfair.
Mandate City
The scene that
rushed to
unraveled
the
was too
Heavenly
shocking.
Mandate Academy
Was this something
to
that a
witness
mortal
this
could
grand
achieve?
occasion with their
Cultivators
very
from
own
the
eyes.
Holy Land of
The
Taichu
last time
were
the
frozen
forces
in
of the
place.
Nine Realms arrived,
As they gazed at
Lord
what had
Taishian
unfolded,
did not call
they
for
saw
a
the
meeting
picture
nor
above
solve
the
the
sky
issue.
slowly dissipate.
Instead, he was
A figure
waiting for
appeared amid the
Futian to
void.
return.
It was the
Now
Taichu
Futian
Saint
had
Emperor.
returned.
However,
A
at
sense
this
of pride
moment,
surged
his
within
aura
the
seemed
hearts of
extremely
those from
weak.
the Heavenly
His
Mandate
face
City.
was as pale as
Who could
paper,
have thought that the
and his
Heaven
eyes
Mandate
were
realm,
smeared with a sense
which
of
was
fright
once
and
deemed
shock.
the weakest,
How is that
would one day
possible?
wield the authority
The
to
master
call
of
upon
the
the
Four
Nine
Corner
Realms,
Village,
including the most
not only the
powerful,
Taichu Saint
the
Emperor,
Central Emperor
but
realm,
the other top
with
aces
one
seemed
single
to have
order.
felt it as well.
Such glory
They
was
stared
something that
fixedly towards the
cultivators
lower
of Heavenly
sky at the
Mandate
body of
City
Shinjia, the
dared
great emperor.
not even think
This
about in the
master
past.
from the Shangqing
But now
domain's
it was about to
four-corner
come
village,
true. Who was controlling the sacred remains?
Everyone was patiently
Who exactly
waiting,
was he?
prepping to
Was he
witness
of the
this
Imperial
glory.
realm?
Time went by
Thinking
slowly.
about this,
After
their
a long
heartbeats
time,
raced even
some
more.
forces finally
Was Four
arrived.
Corner Village
The first
secretly
to arrive
harboring
was
an
actually the
Imperial realm?
force from the
Back
Central
then,
Emperor realm.
Dong Huang the
As
Great
people
once
from
went
the
to
Heavenly
the village
Mandate
to cultivate
Academy
before being
went through
hailed
the
as an emperor.
teleportation grand
Later
matrix
on,
to convey
a
the
ban was
message.
issued after
They
the
were the
divine
fastest
prefecture's
to arrive.
unification.
From the Central
Could that be
Emperor
the
realm
reason?
came
Was
the
Dong Huang
Tianxin
the Great
Academy,
once instructed
marshaled
by the
by the
master
master
of Four Corner
and the Sky
Village?
Reaching School?
No one would have
The Shen
expected
clan
such
was
an
destroyed,
outcome.
but
The
the
appearance
celestial
of such a
worthy
daunting
temple was still
existence.
standing. The
However,
powerhouses of the
as the
Heavenly
celestial
Mandate
worthy
Academy
temple was backed
regained
up
their
by
forces
forces from the upper
as they
world,
looked at the body
they
of
did not
Shinjia, the
come.
great
It
emperor.
was
in
only
shock.
natural that
It
forces
seemed that
from
they
the
would have
upper
to worry
world would
about
never lower
Futian
their
no
heads
more.
and apologize.
With an ace of this
If
level
Futian
guardian wished to
Futian,
lead his alliance
who would
of
dare
aces
to touch
to
him?
assault the
Only a
celestial
very
worthy
few
temple
across the divine
all they had to
prefecture
do
could
was give
afford
up
to provoke him.
temporarily. If
The
you
Shen
find
clan
any
had
errors,
already disbanded.
broken links,
The few
non-standard
other forces,
content, etc.,
namely the Nantian
please
Divine
let us know
Kingdom,
so we can fix
Yuan
it
Yang
as soon as
clan and Xiao
possible.
clan,
Tip:
were the
you
Heavenly
can use
Mandate
left,
Academy's
right,
allies,
A and D
and they were
keyboard
already
keys to
present
browse
within the
between
academy.
chapters. I, Jianao, have led the cultivators from the Tianxin
Chapter
Academy here to
2260
attend the
status.
assembly.
Chapter
A voice came
2260
from beyond.
status
A
Great
gust
Emperor.
of cold was stirred
An
up in the
existence
hearts
at the
of the
Imperial
Heavenly
realm from
Mandate
ancient
Academy's
times?
cultivators.
In that era, gods
Jianao was
plummeted.
indeed an
However,
extremely
for
shameless
countless
person.
years,
It
it
was
was
unknown
seemingly
if the
forgotten
ancient
everything
gods still
that took
existed.
place back in
The
time.
sacred remains
The
of
Sky
Shinjia,
Reaching
the great
School is
emperor.
here.
The will
The
of
martial
great
god
Emperor
clan is
Ziwei
here.
from the Ziwei
The
segmentum.
powerhouses from
These
various
were all
forces
remnants
spoke
of
loudly.
the age of the gods.
Their voices
In this
reverberated
world,
throughout the
there
void.
were bound to be many
Please wait.
ancient remnants.
From within the
Those
academy,
standing at the pinnacle
a voice
of the
arose
world
from
of
above the great
cultivation
hall.
would know
It
more
was
about these
Futian's
secrets.
voice.
Therefore,
Imbued
was
with
Four
great
Corner
penetrative
Village hiding a
force.
great emperor
It made
from
the
view?
hearts of the aces
However,
inside the
they
Heavenly
figured that
Mandate
even if
Academy
Four Corner
and
Village's
outside the
master
Heavenly
was once a
Mandate
great
City
emperor,
tremble.
he
With
could
the
never
arrival
be a
of many
complete
top
great
aces.
emperor.
Futian's
Otherwise,
reply was
he would
only
not have
2 words.
secluded himself in
Please
Four
wait.
Corner Village.
He
for
was
so many
asking for them
years.
to wait outside.
So there had to be
These
something
top
that they were
forces were
oblivious
all
to.
overweeningly
A true
arrogant in
great
the
emperor
past.
could kill others
And
with his very
Futian,
mind.
even once trained
There
in
was no
Tianxin
need to borrow the
Academy.
body of
When did
Shinjia,
these
the great
forces
emperor,
ever place
Hence,
Futian in their
the
eyes?
master of Four
But
Corner
what was
Village
happening here now?
had to be
Just
under some
after a few
restrictions.
years.
But
Yi
no matter
Futian
the
asked them
case,
to wait outside.
at least before them
What
right
Jianao,
now,
he was
and the other
invincible.
aces were
Among
feeling
the
right at this
powerhouses,
moment. The
probably
minds of
only
those
they would
from the
know.
Shangqing domain
However, they were
the
not
most
at all
intensely
furious.
affected.
Their
An
life was in the
existence
hands
that
of
might
Yi
be a great
Futian.
emperor.
What kind of
was hiding
attitude
in
could they
Four
have?
Corner Village.
They could either
What would
leave
this
and
imply?
relinquish the faction
When they
they were in
remembered
while
that
it
they
was
joined
notable that they
forces
would
to
not
attack Four
necessarily
Corner Village
succeed
in the past,
or apologize
they felt
and
a
beg
little
for
ridiculous.
peace.
If you
As the
find any
master was in
errors,
closed-door
broken
training,
links,
he did not do
non-standard
anything
content,
during their
etc.,
first assault.
please let us
Should
know
the
so we
master
can
truly
fix it as
desire
soon
to
as
kill,
possible. No
Tip:
cultivator
you
who
can use left,
participated
in the raid on
A
Four
and D
Corner
keyboard
Village
keys to
would be
browse
able to
between
leave
chapters.
alive. Muyin Long and Muyin Lan were present among the aces of the Nanhai
Chapter
family.
2267.
At this moment, waves of horror were
Chapter
stirred up in their hearts.
2267.
Was he the true
Humbling
master?
aces from
Their
various realms
understanding of the
arrived one
master
by
was
one.
just superficial.
So did those from the
Muyin
mountain
Long
realm.
even once thought about
Futian
replacing
invited
the
the
master's
aces
position
from the mountain
in the
realm
village
to
and
enter the
controlling
academy.
Four Corner Village.
This means powerful
Thinking
people
about it
from
right
different
now,
worlds.
it felt just like
Aside
a joke.
from them,
He actually
several
thought about
cultivators
replacing
that
someone
were not
who
from
was
the
a
top
literal
powers
god.
across the
What was
9
he
realms.
thinking?
Came
Besides,
to visit the Heavenly
they let the
Mandate
Muyin
Academy.
family to break
The
away
aces
from
the
Four
9
Corner
realms
Village
could all feel
because
that
of
on
their
this
ambition.
very day,
Muyin
the
Long
structure
felt
of the
the
9
same.
realms
He
had
was
completely
arrogant
been
and
altered
proclaimed himself
at
to
that
be
time
a person of
because of
unparalleled
foreign
talent.
invasion.
He became famous across the Shangqing domain, were not too friendly
joined the
toward
Nanhai
those
family
from the original
by marrying
realm.
a daughter of
Their
theirs,
minds were full
and
of
lived a
foul
life of
intentions
glory.
against one
He
another.
was once the master's
They were thinking
disciple,
about invading
and was
the
very
original
respectful
realm
towards
and
him.
obtaining the
However,
last of their
due
worth.
to what took place
After that battle,
he
many
severed the
forces
respect
from the
and
original
emotion
realm
he shared with
were
him.
placed under the
Thinking
control
about
of
it
those
at this
from
moment,
the divine prefecture.
it turned out that nothing
such
was
as the
beyond
Shan
the
clan,
master's control.
Solar Divine Palace,
He could see everything
Celestial
vividly,
Worthy Temple,
as he was all-knowing,
and many other forces.
However,
he would
if
never
that battle
interfere.
had not taken place,
all until the appearance
the original
of Yi
realm
Futian
would have been completely devoured.
The
Sooner
last
rather
two
than
times he
later.
showed up were all
Whether it
related
is the
to
dark
Yi Futian,
world or the empty
especially
divine
this
realm,
one,
or
because
maybe
Yi
even the
Futian was
forces
in
of the
danger.
divine prefecture.
He came all the way
They
from
would
the
devour
divine
the original
prefecture,
realm little
descended
by little.
upon this realm,
However,
and
that
saved
battle
Yi Futian.
reversed the state of
Therefore,
affairs. Just like
its
Xinjia the
significance
great
was
emperor
phenomenal.
and great emperor
It could
Ziwei
even directly
had the
determine the
master
future
selected
of
Yi
the
Futian.
original realm.
Why would that happen?
Now that Yi Futian
What was
had
so
healed
special
from his
about Yi
injuries
Futian
and gathered
that
the
gave him
forces
such
from the 9
unbelievable
realms?
luck?
People
Those
had
figures
become
from
aware
ancient
that
times,
drastic changes
whether it
might
be the
dawn
fallen
upon the
gods
original
or great
realm.
emperor Ziwei,
Hence,
whose
several
remnant will
cultivators
still
that were
remain,
not from the
had all
mainstream
chosen Yi
factions
Futian,
came to
he was
visit
given
the
control
heavenly
of the
mandate
sacred
academy.
remain.
And the
Ziwei
heavenly
the Great
mandate
Emperor
academy
allowed him to
welcomed all
control
of
the
them
Ziwei segmentum,
as they called upon the aces
and the
from
master was
various
willing
forces
to come out from
to
the
enter
village
the academy.
to shock the people
In an
of this
instant,
world.
a
The
myriad of
white-haired
powerful
youth had the
beings
favor
was
of
gathered
1,000
inside the
amassed on
heavenly
himself.
mandate academy.
Was this a
The
coincidence?
powerhouses ventured
Or could
to
it
the
be that
square
he
in
had
front of
shocking
the
talent?
academy's great
Nobody
hall
understood
and
why.
looked at the
Mui
white-haired
and Lan
youth
did
standing
not
above the
understand
stairs.
why he
The
could
person
not gain
was
the
no
favor
other
of
than the
so
most
many of these
legendary
figures.
figure in
Was
original
he not
realm
the child
over
of
the
destiny?
past few years.
The interspace
Many
reverted
aces
to
that
its
were not from
quietness
the
from
top
before.
powers were
Nobody
invited
dared
into
to
the
make a
heavenly
move.
mandate academy.
The body of Xinjia
On the
the
contrary,
great emperor
the
levitated
aces
in
from
the
top
air,
forces
as
such
the
as
master
the
looked
Tianqian
around the
Academy
vicinity
and Martial God
without
Clan
so much as a
were
single
left
ripple in
outside
his
waiting.
eyes. As they were not
Previously,
eligible
a
to
mere
enter the
glance from
heavenly
him
mandate
bested the
academy.
Taichu Saint
It was
Emperor.
slightly ironic.
Who would be bold
One
enough
could
to make a
consider
move
that as a
against
humiliation
someone at such a
However,
transcendent
compared
level
to their
in
numerous
cultivation?
efforts to kill Yi
Besides,
Futian in the
they
past,
all understood that
such
if the master
humiliation
willed
would
it to
amount to
happen,
nothing. That blow
after
from
all,
just now could
the
kill the
hatred
Taichu
between them
Saint
was a
Emperor
matter of life
immediately.
and death.
But he did
As
not
more
do
and more
so.
powerhouses
Just like
arrived,
that time he was
the
outside
inside
Four
of the
Corner
Heavenly
Village,
Mandate Academy
facing the
was extremely
powerhouses who
lively.
were raiding the village.
An uncountable
He did
number
not
of
proceed
aces
to
were
reap away
inside Heavenly
lives.
Mandate City
Instead,
to partake
all
in the
he
grand
did was
occasion.
severely injure the patriarch of the Nanhai family.
The
Above
master
the great
preached
hall,
kindness in the
Yi
village,
Futian invited the
and it seemed that
Tianqian
he was
temple's
as
eminent
equally as
monk,
benevolent when
Master
he was
Pudu.
outside.
It was
Even
rumored that
towards
the mountain
enemies,
realm
he
was
would
in
not
fact
attack with
related
the
to the
intent
upper
to
world
kill.
of Buddhism.
At this moment,
and that Dong Huang
rays
the
of
Great
divine
had
light
once
showered
trained
down
there.
amid the void.
Master Pudu.
It was so
Yi
gorgeous
Futian
that it
bowed
compelled
slightly
many to
facing
lift their
Tianqian
heads
temple's
and
Master
look at light
Pudu.
sprinkling
Master
down from the
Pudu
sky.
put his palms
Over
together
there,
devoutly and
figures
said,
descended from
"I'm
the high
amazed by
above
what you
and
managed
hovered
to
in the
attain."
void.
The
In the
divine
past,
light was
he
dazzling.
actually had some
The leader
conflicts
of
with
the
Yi
entities
Futian
was an
because of the
indescribably
incident
beautiful
with
and
Yi Qingmiao.
striking woman.
He sensed that
She
Yi
was so
Qingmiao
noble
may
and
lead
pure
to great
that
calamity
people
in the
only
future.
dared to look at her
And yet Yi
without
Futian
harboring a
insisted on
single thought of
protecting her.
disrespect.
For that,
Seeing the
both
appearance
sides
of
almost
this
got
figure,
into a fight.
many bowed slightly
However,
and
they
saluted
had their
her.
own stand back
Many
then,
top aces
and they
across
both
the
bore
divine
no
prefecture
hatred.
opened their mouths
Besides,
and said,
with the size of
"Your
their
Highness."
hearts, they would
That
not
woman
take
who
this matter
arrived
too
was the only
seriously.
daughter of Dong
The
Huang
original
the Great,
realm is in turmoil.
Princess Dong Huang.
What are your thoughts
Princess
on this great
Dong
master?
Huang could be seen looking
Yi
at the
Futian
crowd
asked while
and
facing
at
Master
last,
Pudu.
her gaze
To
fell
have
onto
amassed
the
the
body of
forces of
Xinjia
the 9
the Great
realms.
Emperor.
Perhaps
She
you already
strode
have a
forward
plan in
towards
mind?
it while the many
Master
powerhouses
Pudu replied
behind her
as he
followed.
slightly made some speculations internally.
They arrived at
Yi
the
Futian
space
nodded.
not far in
This
front of the
time,
body of
not only
Xinjia
did
the
he
Great
want to
Emperor,
end those forces,
under everyone's
but also
gazes
he
of
wanted
surprise.
to settle the old
Princess
accounts.
Dong Huang
In
bowed
the
gently.
meantime,
He
facing
hoped
the
that the
body
land
of
of the
Xinjia the
original
Great
realm
Emperor
would not be
with
devoured
great
by this
respect, she
storm
said,
and become
"Master."
completely
Seeing
devastated.
this, things
Mild
were already
ripples
tragic
coursed through the
enough at
hearts
the
of the
hidden
divine
land
realm and
prefecture's
Ziwei realm.
powerhouses.
I would like
The
to hear
princess
about the
arrived and
details,
bowed to him Master as a gesture of respect.
I'm planning to gather
From this,
together the
one could
forces of
discern
the
the
original
master's
realm
social status.
to fight against the
It
foreign
seemed that the
enemies
rumors
as
were
one.
true.
What do you
When
think
Dong
Great
Huang the
Master
Great cultivated
Yi
in Four
Futian
Corner
asked,
Village,
if the forces
master
of the
was
original
probably the
realm
one who
were to
guided
face
him.
up against the
With the
top
existence
powers
of
of
the
this
outer
relationship,
then
the
all of
status
them
of
would
Four
seem
Corner
to be on the
Village was
weaker end.
obvious.
Especially
It seemed that
when
the
so many
Bandong
have
Huang the
arrived from
Great
the outer
previously
realms.
issued,
However,
was not to let
if the
anybody
forces
disturb
of the
Four
original
Corner realm
village
could come
and the
together
master's
as a combined
cultivation,
power.
coupled with
Subsequently,
what the Heavenly
Four Corner
Mandate
Village
Academy had
decided
now,
to affiliate
then they
themselves
could
with the
definitely
world,
turn themselves
and Dong
into a
Huang the Great
superpower by
lifted the
leaps
ban,
and bounds,
because he knew that
unless
as long
they
as the
counter
master was
existences
present,
that have gone through
no
a
one would
level
be
2
able to
divine
lay their fingers
tribulation,
on Four Corner
then their
Village.
position would be
The
as
funny
solid
thing
as
was
a
that
rock.
many aces of
What's
the
more,
Shangqing domain
Yi
attacked the
Futian had a
village
legendary
due
figure
to the
backing
ban
him
being
up.
lifted.
Someone
No
who
need
was
to be so
speculated
courteous,
to be an
princess,
imperial realm.
the master replied.
With that,
The
Princess
forces of the
Dong
outer
Huang
realms
opened her
would
mouth
not
and
dare
said,
to act rashly.
"You've once taught my
Good.
father,
Master
so I must
Pudu
bow
held
to
his
you when
palms
I see
together.
you." If
That's
that's
what
what
you
you
wish
so
to
many
do,
years ago,
you may proceed.
It isn't worth mentioning.
The Tianxian temple
the master
fully
said
supports your
casually.
decision.
My father
Thank
always
you, great
remembered
master,
your teachings,
Yi
master.
Futian said.
Princess
Then,
Dong
he
Huang
cast
said
his
with a
eyes upon
smile.
the people below.
Subsequently,
The aces
she
of the
turned
mountain
around
realms
and looked at the
Shinshin clan
aces
had
of the divine
arrived.
prefecture.
This force was no
The
friend in the
softness she had
past.
instantly
Like
vanished,
many of the other
replaced
forces,
by a sense of
they were
chilling
here
awe.
to make an apology.
Like a goddess,
Others,
she
you
swept
may
her
enter
eyes
now.
coldly across those
Futian's
aces
vivid
of the
voice
divine
sounded.
prefecture.
Immediately,
the passage
forces
to
from
the
the
original
outer
realm
realm
stepped
opened,
foot into
and
the
the aces
heavenly
across
mandate
18
academy.
domains are summoned.
And this what you
As
ended
if
up
receiving
doing.
Buddha's decree,
You're even about to
they
join
were
forces
extremely
with Dark
obedient.
World and Empty
Some of the
Divine
top
Realm.
aces
Prince
did not
Dong
even
Huang
have their
chided.
temper with
When
them
her
right
chilling
now.
voice sounded,
In the current situation,
the powerhouses were
they
as
have no
silent
choice
as a
but
winter
to lower
cicada.
their heads.
Although
When
those
the top
top forces
aces
were
were
not
over,
afraid of Princess
people
Dong
from the
Huang,
various forces
they dared
gave way
not
to
to
them.
provoke her blatantly.
Everyone was looking at
Should
them,
they infuriate
and
the
that felt
imperial
extremely
family,
unpleasant
who could afford
for the
to bear the
cultivators of those
consequences.
forces.
If you
However,
find any
they could only
errors,
brace
broken
themselves
links,
in advance.
non-standard
They
content,
felt as if
etc.
they were criminals
Please
waiting
let
to
us
be
know
judged.
so we can fix it
A
as
word
soon
from
as
Yi
possible.
Futian may yield
Tip.
enough power
You
to
can
decide
use
their
left,
fate.
right,
Jiao
A
A
and
and
D
also
keyboard
there.
keys to
He looked
browse between
forward,
chapters,
only to see that Yi Futian and others were also looking at their direction.
Chapter
discovered that something had
2261,
changed
ending.
about Yi Futian's
Chapter
demeanor.
2261,
He might have attained a breakthrough.
ending nobody talked.
This made
The
Jianao
many
feel
forces
somewhat
dared
speechless.
not to answer.
He once wanted to kill Yi
Besides,
Futian.
whoever
and
volunteered
pave the
to
way
come
for
forward
Jian
and
Qingju.
speak would be courting
After
death
all,
itself.
before Yi
When
Futian,
Princess Dong
Jian
Huang
Qingju
saw that nobody
Shen
was
Hao,
talking,
and a
she
few
cast
others
her
were the
gaze
most
at the
talented
fighters from the
people
dark
in the
world,
original realm,
an empty
and
divine
Jian
realm in the
Qingju was
distance.
even above the others.
A battle took place
But at
20
that
years
moment,
ago.
Yi
And you
Futian came
promised
out
that
from
you would
nowhere,
leave if you were
and
defeated.
nobody could rival
Now that
against
you have
him.
again
No
returned
matter
to the
how
original
talented
realm,
those people were
it
from
seems
the
that the
original
Dark
realm,
Court and Empty
they would
Mountain
still pale
are
in
deliberately
comparison
trying
with the
to
talents
incite
of
a
Yi
war.
Futian.
The
What's
powerhouses
more,
from the
Jianao
Dark
knew that
World
Princess
and
Dong
Empty
Huang
Divine
from the
Realm did
Imperial
not
Palace
respond.
thought
A
of Yi
figure at the
Futian
Imperial
very
realm,
highly.
she
Was
spared Yi
present among their
Futian the
opponents.
last time around.
Naturally, they would not dare to
Yi
say
Futian
anything.
would have already
What
fallen.
if this powerhouse,
And by sparing
who
Yi
could control
Futian's
the
life,
body of Xinjia
that
the
could
great
only mean
emperor,
a treasure
attacked
gifted
them?
by the princess?
Nobody could stop him.
Despite the
Most
unpleasant
certainly,
feeling he had
those
on
at
the
the
inside,
Imperial realm would
Jian
usually
Ao
not
guessed
partake
that
in
since
war.
Yi Futian had
Otherwise,
summoned them,
should a war
he would
between
not go on a
imperial
massacre.
realms be triggered,
And if he really
the sky
were to
would
do
fall,
so,
and
that
the
would
earth
be
would
equivalent
crumble.
to blood bathing
Since you
the
are
forces
here,
of the
Princess
original
Dong
realm.
Huang,
We
we
probably
probably
would
not
not
do
leave.
so, someone
Otherwise,
said.
instead of gathering the various
aces
forces
from both worlds
he could have
left,
gone to them
there was
and
no
kill
point
them
in
right
staying.
away.
Yi
With the
Futian,
presence
an
of a
extremely
super
haughty
person
person,
and today,
who could kill Yi
his
Futian,
arrogance might
and
have
snatch
grown
the
to an
inheritance,
extent where he
and
no
that was
longer
an
had the
example
top
of courting
forces
death.
of the original
The
realm
divine
in his
prefecture's
mind.
Taichu
His way of
emperor
thinking might be
served
beyond
as a
that.
warning for them.
Hence, even
Should
if it
the
meant
opponent display no
humiliation,
mercy,
he still attended.
The top figure
The
from the
forces
Taichu
moved
domain
forward
would
one
perish
step after
here.
another.
Swiftly,
And the people
aces
around
from
backed
both
off to
worlds
give them
vanished
enough
without a
space.
trace.
Those top
Not only
figures
had they
who were
left the
once
heavenly
full of
mandate
conceit bowed
city,
slightly and
but they
said,
also departed
"We
the
have come to the
heavenly
heavenly
mandate academy
It seemed
to
that
present
this
our
place was
apologies
no
to
longer
Ren
convenient
Huangyi.
for them to stay.
On this very
After
day,
they left,
the top
Princess
figures
Dong
of the
Huang
original
once again
realm
looked
looked
at the
powerhouses
at the
from
heavenly
divine
mandate
prefecture.
academy.
She
If you
opened
find
her
any
mouth
errors,
and said,
broken links,
20 years ago at the
non-standard
heavenly
content,
mandate
etc.
academy,
Please
please
let us
stirred up
know so
war
we can
with the
fix it
desire
as
to
soon as
resolve your
possible.
old grievances.
Tip. You can
Today,
use left,
you
right,
descended upon
A
the
and D
heavenly
keyboard
mandate
keys to
academy
browse between chapters
and incited a civil war within the divine prefecture once more. The dark world and empty divine realm
Chapter
are glaring at us like a
2268,
covetous tiger.
rectifying the
Since
original
that's the
realm.
case,
Chapter
you may resolve your grudges
2268,
independently,
rectifying
and
the
I shall not
original realm.
interfere.
Futian lowered
However,
his head,
if
and
any
glanced
force
at the
colludes
ground
with
with
the
the
dark
piercing
world
eyes,
and empty divine
being
realm
sieged multiple
to deal with
times
our
by the
cultivators
forces
of
of
the
the
9
more,
realms,
the
and
imperial
survival
palace
until
will
this
deal
very
with you
day
without
had
delay.
not been easy for him.
Hearing
One
Princess
could
Dong
consider
Huang's
him
words,
extremely lucky.
some breathed a sigh
They
of
wanted
relief
to end
while
things
some
up with
blanched
just
and
an
looked
apology.
horrified.
Did
Some
they think they
forces
could get
who
away
came from
with
the
it so
divine
easily?
prefecture sighed
He
in
looked at the
relief.
powerhouses
It
and
seemed
said
that
loudly,
Princess Dong Huang
"Many
did
times
not intend to
you
pursue
tried to
this
kill
matter.
me and destroy
However,
the
Heavenly Mandate
some
Academy.
forces local to the
grudge
original
between
realm
us concerns
had a
life
strong
and death,
sense of terror
and will be
emerge from
lifted
within
only
their
when there
hearts.
is one side
Previously,
left.
now
Many
you
of
wish
their
to solve
aces
this
were killed
grudge
by
with
the
a
body
single
of Xinjia
apology.
the Great Emperor,
Do you think it's possible?
which had been controlled
The
by
rumbling
Yi
voice
Futian.
reverberated across the void.
However,
However,
some
the Heavenly
forces
Mandate
still had their
Academy,
aces with them.
the hearts of
Many
many
top
shuddered in
forces
fear.
of the original
Everybody
realm
understood
had partaken
that it
in
was
the great
certainly
battle
impossible.
that took place years
no
ago,
one across the
and
9
had
realms
forged a
was
hatred
unaware
with
of
the
this
Heavenly
feud.
Mandate Academy.
If it were not for
and
the
Yi
support
Futian,
Yi Futian
with this
received from
incident,
his many
the
allies,
hatred had further
and the little
intensified.
bit of innate luck he
At
had,
present,
He would have been dead a very long time figures on that level. It would be the same for the heavenly mandate academy from the Ziwei segmentum, which had been raided several times. Without the assistance from the divine palace had been disbanded due to the war back then. What could these forces from the original realm the Shen clan to contend with the collective strength of Yi Futian? The other major forces participated in the battle as well. As long as Yi Futian regained his senses, it was only natural that in order to resolve the issue, control of the body of Xinjia, the great emperor, for Yi Futian to have summoned them this time, enough to wipe out the aces from the original realm. Under such circumstances, very day, the original realm told them to resolve their grudge on their own. Cultivators in the 3,000 realms of the Great Path, Your Highness, are now facing the divine a great calamity. Has once again we should not have stirred up civil strife. Battle. The incident situation was is even more difficult for those from the original realm. Know that this hatred cannot be easily resolved. I would assume if you have any forces from the original realm would no longer entangle within the boundaries of my power. Hence, I will strive to accomplish it to restore peace to the original realm. Yi Futian glanced at Jian'eo with contempt. Somebody asked. Jian'eo was the college chief of Tianjin to resolve the grudge of the entire original realm. What's more, he could be considered one of the top figures of the original realm. Pinnacle of power. It was the college being chief able to do so was already a humble move from him. However, hearing Jian'eo's words, knew that Jian'eo was from the Heavenly Mandate Academy showed expressions of shock there had been no grudge between him and Jian'eo. Restore peace to the original realm. Yi Futian might have even owed him something. He actually said he wanted peace to be restored in the original realm at this very moment in time. When Jian'eo participated in the battle in the powerhouses of the original realm, the unpredictability and profoundness of the human mind could be seen. He was also involved in the alliance between Jian'eo's descendant Yi Futian had a completely different outcome. Was a foregone conclusion. All right, then, he suggested a peace did not hesitate. Princess Dong Huang also nodded his head and agreed with his faint sense of indifference. That, however, why was he saying this now with a strange expression? There had not been too much of a grudge between Yi Futian and Tianjin Academy before. He had already guessed that Yi Futian had once cultivated in Tianjin and a plan on how to deal with him. He had a good relationship with Jian Qingju. The reason he gathered the forces of the original realm was to announce his decision. But all that Jian'eo and whoever was against it would probably be killed on the spot. You were allowed to battle without interference in the past. The world is now in chaos. The arrival of various forces has threatened the safety of the 9 realms, revealed his discontentment. And even the 3,000 realms of the Great Path was nothing like his former cultivators of the original realm break out. Must unite to repel this catastrophe. If not, to sweep across the original realm. What will happen in the future? How could they still fight? Yi Futian death would await them. Your sense of righteousness is profound, College Chief Lord Taishian could not help but sneer. I will get straight to the point. In the name of the Heavenly Mandate Academy, he was on the attack. I call on the forces of the 9 realms now he was asking for peace. Together, do your wish for the original realm to be destroyed overnight and cruise through this orderless age. This time, at the vast venue, from the sky the inner hearts of the aces shuddered when they heard Yi Futian's words. It was speculated that all of them were they came to understand Yi Futian's thoughts. Yi Futian woke up, in fact, and most of them did in the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Yi Futian wanted to unify the original realm into one single force. No one among the forces of the original realm, based on the current state of affairs, should all destruction be unified. Princess Dong Huang looked at him with an icy glare, absolute dominance over the rest. When they waged war against the Heavenly Mandate under the reins of his power, they had never thought of these questions. Yi Futian looked at the crowd here. On the Princess Dong Huang all the people were top figures and looked at the other aces. Behind him were aces of the Ziwei Imperial Palace. The divine prefecture glistened. The power around Yi Futian was already enough to sweep the original realm. When the aces from the original realm saw this, bold enough to defy him, the princess would not do anything for them. Those forces that went against him in the past one after another. Given how things have developed, proceeded to kill them was their only option. No one would have said a thing. All the powerhouses from various places departed and vanished with the Heavenly Mandate Academy at the core. After they left, the 9 realms shall come together as a massive alliance. The only ones who remained were Yi Futian and his allies. The control of the body of Xinjia, the great emperor, looked in the direction where Yi Futian was and said, the Tianxian temple as your leader. Sacred remains with Previously, take good care of him. Asked for the opinion of Tianxian temple's Princess Dong Huang and said, and the master had expressed his willingness to assist him. Journey, master. Since that was the case, Princess Dong Huang made a light bow and proceed to do anything with his heart at ease. The body of Xinjia, the great emperor, rushed into come together as a formidable force. The void instantaneously. They may spare the lives vanished of their previous enemies. Princess Dong Huang lowered her head and glanced down and received direct orders from the Heavenly Mandate Academy. After this incident, if not, no one should dare to trouble him keeping them alive. To keep them as the other powerhouses' departure. Secondly, the aces of the Heavenly Mandate Academy at the higher heavens realm sea of the path gathered around Yi Futian. The power hierarchy in the higher heavens realm will be reformed. and all forces must obey the orders issued by the divine palace. The previous battle already exhausted a great deal of his energy. Later on, for every subsequent realm by the Tai Chu Saint Emperor, under the control of his close allies. One could only imagine how much pressure he had withstood. Right now, it was already extremely fortunate only half of them that his spiritual soul was hidden not destroyed. However, realm, by having his vitality damaged destroyed, it was unknown when he would recover. By the sun, the crowd looked around. In reality, the heavenly mandate academy was no longer what it used to be. The ground as it had been wiped out in the myriad realm. If you find any mandate academy, broken links, send our men there to construct a new faction. Please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Placed under our direct control. You can use left, and we'll have to listen to our dispatchers for orders to browse between chapters. Now that the Ziwei realm was destroyed, the Dou tribe could be relocated to the myriad realm. Besides, and the rest of the people were forces such as the Millet Emperors and Ace from the Ziwei segmentum to exert more control. Purple starlight coiled up around his myriad realm. And a wisp of healing energy seeped into arrived at the original realm. Lord Taishan told him that they planned to stop and cultivate in the original realm for a period of time. Ziwei segmentum when things changed in the future, purple starlight coiled up around his domain for revenge, and a wisp of healing energy seeped into the Central Emperor realm will be completely reorganized. Futian remained in a coma will longer and showed no signs of awakening. College chief. I'm afraid he needs more time. Of the Nantian Divine that Kingdom man said in a low guttural voice. Tiantian Academy. When one spiritual soul position of college chief, it required time charge of Tiantian Academy, recovering within a short period of power of the Central Emperor realm. Impossible. Meanwhile, the Shao Lord Taishan and the others nodded. All of them understood join Futian's situation. To assist the series of events has evidently the Central Emperor damage upon him. All resources gathered the body of Xinjia the Great Emperor itself and might have caused a burden so tremendous that it was simply unimaginable. The most powerful youth of all forces up and took a glance at the fissured ground and the heavenly mandate academy that was no more. These are just temporary placements. They looked at each other and asked, will be made known to all of you later. And all forces must rebuild the Heavenly Mandate Academy at the same time, or something else. The teleportation having Grand suffered so many blows that connect to the Heavenly Mandate Academy will be built across the 9 realms. We're in a allowing reinforcements to be dispatched at any time rebuild the academy for now. No one should dare to find trouble with us through the void in the future. He looked at powerhouses Sky and River asked, Great Elder opened his mouth and said, as soon as his voice fell, nodded gently the vast space plummeted into silence. The Supreme Elder of extracting the firewood from under the cauldron said, it was a decisive move to replace GNAO directly with Emperor Nan and better Tiantian Academy here. And all forces at the Central Emperor realm, so that both sides can look after each other. The changes in the original realm occur, where mainly be provided at Central Emperor realm. When the crowd not only did he have his own people manage the academy, seriously, but the academy was also granted the privilege to directly take whatever resources became from various forces, they would establish and control their most promising youth within the faction's boundaries. The fact that the forces of the original realm were shocked broken by links and even afraid of them, content, etc. The Heavenly Mandate Academy please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Be standing at the pinnacle of power among forces in the original realm. You can use left, most certainly. The now chaotic original realm between chapters did not consist of just local forces, as more of them actually arrived from the outer realms. Chapter 2269. Go and get the others back. Succession, said Lord Taishan. Chapter 2269. After this battle, succession forces of the original realm or outer realms and the other powerhouses speculated that they would not be bold enough to provoke the Heavenly Mandate Academy. The original realm with a guardian supposedly at the imperial of the Heavenly Mandate Academy to make a move against thus them, ending the rivalry the master of that had been going on village in the 9 realms for many years. No one could stop him, and his affiliates agree to his proposal. However, he did not have a choice. They came to apologize, but even so, could they not comply? No one should be bold enough to behave with impetuosity anymore. Futian's conditions, when Lord Taishan finished, only death would await parted them. Ways and presumably, began to work. They would already have been prepared for this. They commenced the rebuilding of the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Very well then. Some aces also departed into the void. I will give you my full cooperation and hand over my position to Emperor Imperial Palace. Jian'eo said. Run Huangchun said, as everyone had anticipated, I will take him to the Great Emperor's cultivation court at the Ziwei segmentum without even the slightest bit of hesitation. The will of the Great Emperor he gave up his position as Tiantian Academy's the Palace Lord himself has developed resonance with the power handover.
Hence, his recovery may be hastened.
It was true that they were already prepared.
Lord Taishan
being able to keep
and
their
the others
lives
nodded,
and their factions were already
was a positive one.
fortunate.
Yi Futian had already acquired the great Emperor Ziwei's
conduct his
reformation
the
without
starry
disrupting
cultivation
them.
court
Likewise,
that harbored the will of the great emperor
should help Yi Futian with his
Hence,
recovery.
he complied readily.
In that case,
seeing
I shall
Jianao's
depart with him right now.
the corner of
Apart
the eyes
from
of
that,
the other aces
I will
twitched.
also look into the
They felt
construction of the
extremely
teleportation grand
However,
matrices.
there was no other choice.
Ren Huangchen continued.
Very well,
he said.
The crowd nodded.
We are willing to
Emperor
cooperate
Shi,
with the
who was
Heavenly
beside him,
Mandate
said,
Academy.
I wonder
The
if I may tag
Hierophant of the
along.
Sky Reaching
I would like to
School,
see what a
the
starry
martial
dimension
clan
that
lord,
contains the will
and
of
the other
great Emperor
powerhouses
Ziwei
nodded
looks
in
like.
agreement to Yi
Emperor
Futian's
Shi was
demands.
someone who had gone
It was
through
not
a level
like they
1
could
divine
disagree
tribulation. Their
Knowing
only
that the
option
will
was
of the
to lower
great
their
emperor
heads
was
and
present
submit.
there.
He
Seeing
wanted
that the
to get a feel
strongest
for
figures were
and
complying
see if it could
immediately
help
within the Heavenly
cultivation.
Mandate
That's
Academy.
certainly no issue.
The powerhouses
Ren
felt
Huangchen
powerful
nodded and
emotions
said,
surging
Emperor
in their
Shi
hearts.
was on par with him.
Today was
in
bound
terms
to
of
be a historic
cultivation
day
base
in the original
and could
realm.
be considered
From
one of the
today
top
onward,
figures.
The original
What's more,
realm would be
he
unified.
was an elder figure
in
to
the
Yi
era of the
Futian,
Heavenly Mandate
who came
Academy
to provide him
would begin.
assistance in
In the
times of
past,
crisis.
forces in
Yi
the Nine
Futian
Realms
was also the
governed their
palace
respective
lord of the
territories.
Ziwei Imperial
Who would have
Palace.
thought that there would
How
ever
would he
be a day
disagree
like
with
today,
him?
going to the
It was
starry
even less
dimension
likely
to
that
cultivate.
people would have
With
imagined
all
that,
factors
in the
combined,
end,
there
the
was
force
no
that would
reason for
unite
him
the
to
nine
turn down
realms would
Emperor
come
Shi's
from the
request.
Heavenly Mandate realm.
Let's set off then,
which had once
Ren
been the
Huangchen
weakest
opened
among
his
them
mouth
all.
and said,
What's more, the
Immediately,
faction was an emerging
the aces
force.
took Yi Futian,
The youngest
and
force
left for
was
the
the Heavenly
Ziwei
Mandate
Segmentum.
Academy.
Emperor Shi,
Everything was like
the
a
Millet
dream.
Emperor,
However,
and the
this
thunder
was
punishing
reality.
Skylord
The
also
empty
tagged
Imperial
along to
Palace would not
experience the
interfere
Ziwei
either.
Segmentum.
Princess
Lord
Donghuan
Taishan
once said
and
that
his
she
party
would not
remained.
bother with these
For them,
disputes and grudges.
they had plenty of
and it
chances
was up
to
to
do
them
so.
to decide on
With
their
Ren
own.
Huangchen's
Yi
suggestion
Futian's actions
of building
were justified.
teleportation grand matrices between both places,
Coupled
when
with the
construction
ongoing
was
chaos
complete,
in the original
they could
realm,
go back and forth.
his purpose
between
of
that
unifying
starry
the
dimension
nine realms
and their
was
own
to
at any
defy
time.
undesired
The
variations
aces became
in the
busy
future.
with their own affairs.
Therefore,
And
even the
various
Imperial
forces
Palace
from the
would have
original realm
acknowledged
returned.
everything that he was
But
doing.
after returning,
Since that's the
case,
ambience within
you
these
may
forces
remain in the
became
Heavenly
different from
Mandate
before.
Academy while you
They were
wait for the
panicking.
final arrangement.
For the Shen clan,
Yi
their
Futian
chief
opened his
elder
mouth
Shen
and
Ji
said,
died
the
in a
powerful
battle that
figures
took place
nodded
more than
without
20
any
years
objection.
ago.
At
Since
present,
they already agreed
with
to
their
it,
clan lord
and they
and
did not
Shen
have
Gao
the
having
power
been
to
killed
change
in
anything.
succession,
The
acceptance
only
was
ones
the
left
only
alive
thing they
were a
could
few
do.
powerhouses
A loser
from the
must
Shen
accept
clan
his
at
fate.
the upper world.
They were the losers,
and losers were
At this
unqualified
moment,
to negotiate
all the
terms
Shen
and
clan's
conditions.
aces were gathered.
Being
as they
alive was
gazed
already
at the
a
top
gift from the
figures from
opposing
their
party
clan at the upper
Yi
world.
Futian turned
At
around
present,
and looked at
they
Emperor
could only
Nan,
place their
Lord
hopes on them.
Taishan and others.
With the relationship
Every one
between
of them
the
was
Shen
pleased.
clan and
Lord
the Heavenly
Taishan
Mandate
was
Academy.
still the college chief
If
of
the
the
other
Heavenly
party wanted
Mandate
to seek
Academy,
revenge,
but
they
he
might
left
destroy the
everything
Shen
today
clan.
for Yi Futian
However,
to decide.
even with
He
their
was
aces
solely
from the upper
responsible
world,
for every
could the
decision
Shen
made
clan
and
still
every
keep
order
themselves
issued.
alive?
Now,
Select a
although
batch
Yi
of people
Futian
and
had
come
just
with
only
me.
broken into
Those
high-level
aces said to an
Renhuang,
elder of the
he
Shen
already
clan.
had the demeanor of a top
Immediately,
figure.
members of the Shen
Besides,
clan
in a few
displayed
years,
expressions of despair.
even without their backing,
were they going to
Yi
abandon the
Futian
Shen
would
clan
still
at
be
the
able
lower
to hold
world?
the four seas
Selecting
by
a batch
himself.
of people,
It was
and
believed
leaving
that this
implied
day
that
would
only
arrive
some
in the near
powerful ones
future.
would be taken
My
away.
apologies,
While
gentlemen.
the others would be
Your
left
plates may
behind
have to
and
remain
forsaken.
full for quite some
Understood.
time.
That
Yi
elder from
Futian
the
said
Shen
to
clan
Emperor
dared
Nan
not
and the
oppose
others.
them.
It would
Given how
naturally
things have
take
become,
some time and
he had no
energy to
choice.
rectify the
You're
forces of the
dismissed.
nine realms.
The ace of the Shen
In
clan
fact,
from the upper
Emperor
world
Nan was
continued,
unwilling to
making
involve
it so
himself
that
in
the
these
powerhouses
affairs.
of the Shen
But
clan
because
were
of Yi
now
Futian's
obsolete.
request,
The Shen clan
coupled
of the
with the
lower world
complicated
was completely
situation of the
abandoned.
original realm,
They were asked to
he could only
disband
agree to
and
stand
would
up
no longer be
and
one
take
of
the
the
reins
top
of
powers
Tianjin
of the
Academy
original
for
realm.
Yi Futian.
After that
Tianjin
battle,
Academy,
the powerful Shen
located in
clan
the central
that had
Emperor
dominated
realm,
the central
was still
Emperor
quite
realm
important
for
to the
so
nine
many
realms.
years, was going
It's
to
all right.
pass away like
Just
a cloud,
leave it to us,
becoming
Xiao
a distant
Dingtian
part
of
of the
the
Shao
Shao
clan and said.
Everybody felt
He and the
waves of
Yuanyang
sorrow.
clan's clan
The
lord
cause
would
of
serve
everything
as
could be
vice college
pinpointed
chiefs
on a
of
single
Tiantian Academy, a cultivator who was once an managing the academy figure. According to the down plan, upon by the Tiantian Academy, he was a disciple of the Heavenly Mandate Academy, whose master was the Sky River to bring up extraordinary cultivators cultivators for the original realm died because of him. All the cultivators of the original realm dissipated because of him. For the original Not only the Shun clan, but many forces in the original realm. Therefore, also he proceeded without similar scenarios. Master Pudu of the Mountain Realm's Golden Divine Temple. Their aces were no longer unified. Futian was not doing and many this had for left his own the Golden Divine Nation. After all, before they left, the power Futian a great war broke right out. Now, which led to the looting of treasures and resources left behind by the Golden Divine Nation. For the original realm. The battle was so horrible that reason that it even led to the fall of their prince. With the king of Divine Nation to assist Futian, as well as in whatever he would do next, who was left to care. Excellent. With the Divine Nation was at the verge of crumbling.
It was only natural to loot whatever they desired.
In the meantime,
identity
we shall commence
the construction
none of those
the teleportation
grand
matrices.
As of now,
Futian
said, everyone needed to focus on keeping themselves
the
alive.
began arranging
Most
for everything
that was about to happen.
Were not planning to disband.
At this
However,
moment, they were
discussing
whether
or not
to head towards the heavenly mandated academy
to beg for
forgiveness
Lord Taishan
only to hear him
and
say,
to iron out the grudge
when the heavenly
mandate
academy
was founded.
Otherwise,
Your
no matter
how enormous
the
original
realm
was,
that was
why
I
no
served
place
as the
first college
If you
chief.
find any errors,
now that many
years
have
passed,
non-standard
it's been a while
since you became the heavenly
Please let us know
so
we can
fix it
figure,
as soon as possible.
and your
cultivation has reached a high level, Renhuang.
I think it will not take you too long to
Chapter
catch up with me.
2263.
I guess I will return the
status.
position of the college
Chapter
chief to you right now.
2263.
His words
Current
had all the
status,
aces halting their steps
the heavenly
as they turned
mandate
to look at
academy
Lord
was soon
Taishan.
to be
He
completed.
wanted to retire
After all,
and give Yi
it was
Futian
an
the
easy
post
task
of college
for top
chief.
figures to
The
rebuild
people
an
below
academy.
felt a sense of
Moreover,
admiration when they
the
heard
heavenly
these
mandate
words.
academy
It was
became
true
bigger
that
and
Lord
grander
Taishan
after
had
its
no selfish
reconstruction.
intentions
The
when he assumed
cultivators
the
that were
post
sent
back
away
then.
were brought
Like
back
what
to
he
the
said,
academy.
he merely
The
assumed
alliance
the post
forces
in Yi
also
Futian's
gathered.
place.
The heavenly
And today,
mandate city
he wanted
seemed
to
have
return it to
regained
him.
its previous
He did
glory
not want
and
anything
liveliness
for himself at all.
The disciples
One
of the
must
heavenly
know that
mandate
right now
academy
that the heavenly
returned
mandate
to the academy had direct
while
control
countless other
over the nine
cultivators
realms
in the realm,
They
yearned
could
to
even be
accepted by
considered the
them.
ruler of
The previous
forces
battle
of the
was too
original realm.
awe-inspiring. The social
Rumor
status
has it
of
that
the
heavenly
ancient
mandate
mysterious
academy's
great emperor
college
level
chief
figures were
was
also
only
present,
imaginable,
and that the
but right
body
at
of
this
a great
very
emperor
moment
had
Lord
appeared,
Taishan was
controlled
giving
by
away
Yi
his
Futian.
position. The
I still
cultivators
lack
of
the
the top
necessary
forces
strength
of three
Lord
major
Taishan.
realms combined
So, I
had
guess
not
I'll
been
have
able
you
to
to
take
continue
down
to
Yi
shoulder the
Futian.
burden.
Many people
Yi
were
Futian
moved by
said.
this.
He wanted
The
to
heavenly
turn down
mandate
his offer.
academy had truly
Lord
been through a
Taishan.
lot. He did
Although
not
it
care
had not
about
been
power.
established for
For
very
them,
long,
that was
it had
insignificant.
faced numerous tribulations.
It's time that I return it to
the
you.
same could also be
Lord
said for Yi
Taishan said
Futian.
with a smile.
He was one with the
adhering
heavenly
to his own
mandate
thoughts
academy
and wishes,
and had faced
the people
multiple
around
trials.
looked over.
Yet
Only
he
to
always
hear
seemed to
Emperor
be
Nan
able to
say,
weather the storm.
You are the one
Now,
who single-handedly
besides the forces
created
of
what
the
we all see
3,000
today.
realms of the great
Lord
path,
Taishan,
even
has
the
also been
cultivators
burdened
from the
with many
outside
worries
world
over the
could
years.
not kill him.
It is
The
time that you
heavenly
let him
mandate
rest.
academy also
He's
released
right,
news
Futian.
that Yi
You
Futian
should
now
accept his
controlled
offer.
the teachings of
The
great
others
Emperor
tried to
Ziwei.
persuade Yi
He was now
Futian.
the master
Yi
of the
Futian
Ziwei
looked at the
segmentum
familiar faces
and was crowned the
and
Ziwei
then
Imperial
at the smile
Palace
on Lord
Taishuan's
Lord's
face.
The members of the heavenly mandate
having
realm were in
understood
awe.
everyone's
Yi
intention,
Futian was
he nodded.
considered the most
Lord
legendary
Taishan
figure
turned to the
in the
crowd and
history
said,
of the heavenly mandate
"From today
realm.
on,
His
Yi
legend was
Futian will
also
be
the
the
college
college
chief of the heavenly
No one knew
mandate
what
academy.
heights he would reach in the
Countless
future.
eyes looked
They
in
wondered
that direction.
whether they would see his
On this
silhouette
very day,
standing at the
the
top
heavenly
of the world.
mandate academy,
Many
would
cultivators
unify
of the
the
heavenly
original
mandate
realm.
Yi
Had a
Futian
faint
took
sense
over
of
the position of the
anticipation.
heavenly
They
mandate
hoped that they
academy's
could witness
college
this
chief
legend
on
being
this very
born
day.
from the heavenly
If you
mandate
find
realm.
any errors,
Right
broken
now,
links,
the situation was
non-standard
lively
content,
in the
etc.
heavenly mandate academy.
Please let us know so
all
we
the
can
alliance
fix it as
forces
soon as
gathered,
possible.
and all
Tip.
who had left returned.
You can use left,
They
right,
were somewhat emotional
A&D
witnessing
keyboard
the
keys
current
to browse
situation
between
of the
chapters.
academy. They had never imagined that the heavenly mandate academy would rise again from adversity
in the original
and
realm,
become the most
a thorough
stable
cleanup
force
operation
in the original
had begun.
realm. The
In the
academy
original
was now
realm,
the hottest
a
topic
thorough
discussed
cleanup
by many
operation had
outsiders.
begun.
The
With
heavenly mandate academy as the
would
center
soon become the number
its
one
allies
force
began to
in the
take over
original
major
realm.
forces within
Moreover,
the 9 realms.
this was not an
They
exaggeration.
disrupted these top
It was
forces
assumed
by
to be
completely
fact.
splitting them
All
apart.
the cultivators from
They
the
controlled
alliance
their
forces,
young progenies,
such as the
by
Nantian
sending them
Divine
to
Kingdom
Tianshan
ruled by
Academy
Emperor
for
Nan.
cultivation.
Do tribe,
As for
Yuanyao
Jianao and the
clan,
others,
Xiao
they were
clan,
also
and the
split
Divine
apart by Yi
Palace were
Futian.
thrilled.
Being
The status
relocated
of the
to
heavenly
different
mandate
places.
academy
For
had totally
example,
changed after this
Jianao would
calamity.
be neutralized among the cultivators of Ziwei
The
Imperial
battle was
Palace.
significant since
In
it
this
caused
manner,
the power structure
even
of
if he
the
had
original
truly
realm
domineering
to be
power in the
completely
original
overwritten.
realm.
Right
He
at the
couldn't make
moment,
any waves
many
without
cultivators
Renhuang
traversed
destroying
across space
and crushing him
and
easily.
arrived outside
If he
of
were
the heavenly
anything but
mandate
obedient,
academy.
he would pay
They
for it with
halted in
his life.
midair.
Once
Other
they
top
approached the
cultivators
academy,
were in the same
then
predicament
they landed and
were
stared
under
at the
control.
academy.
They
which
had
been
made several
rebuilt.
moves
They
against
had
Futian
complicated
in the
looks
past,
on their faces,
so it was
the
impossible to
cultivators
allow
from
them
the sky-reaching
absolute
freedom
freedom.
have
It was
come to
already
visit
a favor
the heavenly
to them
mandate
to allow them
academy.
to surrender
A
their
voice
powers
called out loudly
and submit themselves.
The cultivators
from
the sky-reaching school
the
were
space
here.
teleportation
The
grand
cultivators
matrix
in
had
the
begun
heavenly
to be
mandate
built
academy
one after the other.
went silent for
The
a
land
moment.
of the nine realms
Then a
formed
voice
a pattern
responded.
with the
What
heavenly
business
mandate
do you have
academy
with
at the
us?
center.
This
And
voice was
radiated
from Lord
outward.
Taishian.
As soon
We're
as
here to
movement was
extend a
detected,
formal apology,
it could gather
said
its
the
allies
Hierophant
with the
of the
fastest
sky-reaching
speed.
school.
Adding heavenly
sky-reaching
mandate
school
academy
was
and
involved in the
Imperial
matter,
Palace
which
into the
occurred
mix.
over these past few
Cultivators
years.
from all
We
sides
were
were
wrong.
completely
So,
connected.
We're here to apologize in more than 300 years.
The Heavenly Mandate Academy had formed such a pervasive unification.
In moments like this,
ending nearly
even if the other
400
party
years
were
of
top
division,
cultivators,
regarding the changes
it was impossible
that took
for
place
them
in the
not
9
to admit
realms.
their wrongdoing.
These external
If
forces
they did not
had made a note
apologize
to
to
the Heavenly Mandate Academy,
and most of them had not
they might
left
be
the
eradicated
original
by
realm.
the Academy.
Instead,
when the latter
they
came
stayed
to
on
settle the
quietly.
score.
Observing
Another
these
outcome would be
changes,
them hiding
and their
somewhere
hearts were
remote in
greatly
the
disturbed.
3,000 realms of the Great Path. Neither the
never to
forces
appear
from the
again.
Divine Prefecture,
Martial God
the
Clan
Dark
is here
World,
to extend our
nor
apology.
the empty Divine Realm,
Another voice
had
cried.
paid much attention
Many
to
parties
the forces
arrived one
within
by
the
one.
original realm.
These top
In their
forces
eyes,
from the
they
original
were but
realm
targets to
were
be
here to
slaughtered
visit
at
the
will.
Academy
Before,
apologize
many
for their
forces
previous
had participated
wrongdoings.
in the campaign
In
against
just a short
Heavenly
amount of
Mandate
time,
Academy.
the outside
And the
of the
Holy
Heavenly
Land of
Mandate
Taichu had
Academy
paid a heavy
was
price.
crowded with
The death
cultivators
of
from all
Swordmaster
over.
of Taichu
The
himself.
cultivators in the
But
Heavenly
now,
Mandate
everything was
City
different.
felt their hearts
The
stirred
forces
when they
in the
looked at
original
this scene.
realm had been
This
unified.
was the outcome brought
Coupled
forth
with the
by
power
the
from
terrifying
Ziwei
battle.
Segmentum,
The Heavenly
it was
Mandate
not so
realm
easy to be
seemed
taken
to have
down
become
any
the
one
center of the
force in the
3,000
original
realms
realm
of the Great
Be
Path.
it the Divine
All the
Prefecture or
forces
the
here
Dark
either
World,
came to pay homage
there were not many
or to
forces
extend their
that would
apology.
provoke the Heavenly
Most
Mandate
likely,
Academy in
all
its
the
current
forces
state,
in the original
unless
realm
they conspired
had realized
together.
that the current
This situation
situation
did
in
not
the
bode
original
well
realm
for forces
was
from the
completely
outside.
different.
Their
The
desire
Heavenly
to grab
Mandate
more
Academy
resources
would
from
become
the
a
original
bona fide
realm
superpower,
seemed an impossible
which
endeavor.
ruled over the 3,000 realms of the Great Path.
The Solar
In the
Divine
Heavenly
Palace
Mandate
of Solar
Academy,
Realm,
the
was the
various
only
cultivators
force that
that
naturally
did not
also
submit
heard
besides
these
the
voices
realms
that had
they
been
looked towards
destroyed.
the outskirts
Once
with
upon a
cold
time,
looks on their
the
faces.
Solar Divine
The other
Palace had
forces
unified
finally
the solar
knew that they
realm,
needed to come,
and all the forces
and offer
in
their
the entire
apologies.
realm obeyed the
Back
orders
then,
given
how
by
had
Solar
these forces
Divine
treated the
Palace.
Heavenly
In
Mandate
addition,
Academy?
they had the
They
support of Sun
participated
God
in
Mountain,
multiple raids,
a supreme
and
power
wanted
in
to
the
kill
upper
Yi
worlds.
Futian.
Nevertheless,
Completely eradicate
even at
the
a time
Heavenly
like
Mandate
this,
Academy.
they did not submit.
Now, would a simple
After all,
apology suffice
Sun
to
God
settle
Mountain
the
was
score?
a supreme
How
power
shall
in
we
the
deal
upper
with them?
worlds.
Lord
According to
Taishan
legend,
asked the various
they were
cultivators,
descendants of the Sun God,
and had all the rights to
before
be
him
proud
were
as
the
they were
alliance
qualified
members
to
of
do
the
so.
various top
In
forces,
the upper worlds,
such as Emperor
Sun
Nan
God
and
Mountain
the others.
was one of the top
Now they had to
principalities.
consider how they would
At this
deal
time,
with the various
inside
forces.
Solar Divine
Were they
Palace,
going to write off their
the
wrongs?
blazing Solar Divine
Shin Clan
fire
has already
shrouded the
disbanded.
palace.
The
The
upper
currents
world
of Shin
flames
Clan
flowed
has
about
left
in
with a
extreme
group of
brilliance.
members.
And the
Inside
other
the Divine
cultivators
Palace
of Shin Clan,
in front of the
have
solar
dispersed
pattern,
on their own.
a majestic
said
figure
Emperor
stood
Nan.
there.
Everyone
Surveying the
understood
crowd
why
below.
the Shin Clan
It
had
was the top
disbanded.
figure from the
They
Sun
knew
God
that
Mountain,
the Heavenly Mandate
who had fought
Academy
with Yi
couldn't
Futian
spare
that
the Shin
day.
Clan,
The man
and
who
the
had
other
passed
large
the
forces
first divine
that
tribulation
stood with golden divine
However,
nation.
he was
If the
almost
Shin
killed
Clan
by
did
Yi
not
Futian's
disband,
shocking sword.
it would certainly
while
be
he
destroyed.
had control over the
So
body
such
of
an
Xinjiao
ending
the
for
Great
them was
Emperor.
inevitable.
What's the
It is the
situation
same in
outside?
Golden Divine Nation.
Asked the man of
There was
might
a
power
civil
from
war,
Sun God
and many
Mountain.
people died.
Heavenly
The
Mandate
nation has
Academy has
completely
taken
fallen.
control of the
Someone
top
said.
forces from
The
all
forces
realms
that had not
A strong
disbanded,
man responded,
and those whose top
Should we
figures
evacuate?
were not killed in
all
the battle,
realms had gone to
still
pledge
had a
their
sliver of
allegiance
hope.
to Heavenly
They
Mandate
came to
Academy,
apologize with the
but the
hope
Solar
that the
Divine
Heavenly
Palace
Mandate
had not.
Academy would spare
However,
them.
Solar
naturally
Divine
cannot
Palace had
easily let the
participated
other
in
forces
several
go
assault
free,
operations
said
in the
Sky
past.
River Great Elder
The
in a
fact that
cold
they did
tone.
not apologize
How could they
and
get
pledge
off so
fealty
easily?
was
Before
not something
this,
that Yi
these
Futian
forces
would
wanted to
easily
eliminate
overlook.
them.
That
Now
top
that they came to
cultivator
offer
from
their
Sun God
apologies,
Mountain pondered
how
for a
could the
moment.
Heavenly Mandate
Were they
Academy
doomed to
write it
fail
off
this
like
time?
that?
Now,
With the power
responded
gathered
Lord
by the Heavenly
Taishan as he
Mandate
nodded his
Academy,
head.
he
Unless it were
continued,
the Divine
"We will
Mountain
wait
Lord
for
himself,
Futian to
who
return
came
and
to the
decide
lower
their
worlds.
fates."
They would
As he
probably
said this,
be
he
unable
turned
to
and
stop
said to
its
the people
momentum.
outside,
This meant
"All
that
of
they
you
would
leave
have
for
to
today."
abandon the solar realm.
When the various
the
forces
Divine
heard the
Mountain
words
Lord
of Lord
was,
Taishan,
at the moment,
they felt
cultivating in
uneasy.
retreat.
None of them
He
left.
had not left the mountain
They remained
for many
outside
years.
the Heavenly Mandate
Therefore,
Academy.
he couldn't come to the lower
Other forces
worlds.
of the original
This time
realm
he brought
also
a group of
arrived one
cultivators
after
to the
another.
original realm
Some
on
forces,
a mission.
who
However,
had not
were
participated
they
in
going to
going
have to
against
give
the
up the
Heavenly
Solar
Mandate
Realm
Academy,
after all that?
were
He
instead
was somewhat
invited
reluctant.
inside.
Now
The
the body of
cultivators in the
Xinjiao
distance, the great emperor had been taken away of the original realm, arriving one after another. But perhaps he still had a fighting chance. Witness to history in the making. He seemed to have sensed something. The heavenly mandated academy into the distance would be the top cultivation. He immediately felt a horrible aura descending, realm. As if coming from outside naturally unaware these auras that all this was happening in the original realm, and each one was incredibly in the starry strong. Cultivation court of the Ziwei segmentum, all the cultivators from solar divine figure was floating among the vast starry sky. They knew that trouble was starlight shone down on his figure. It was extremely bright, as though he was enshrouded in divine halos. All the principalities Emperor Shi and the others stood below, was unlikely to let them off the hook. Emperor Shi exclaimed, "It seems that the time of actually healing upon them. It is so miraculous. In different areas high above the sky contains the will of great emperors from the divine prefecture. It seems that it is true.
Looking in the direction of the solar divine palace below, they could all sense that the starlight raining down from the heavenly sky was actually repairing Yi Futian's, knowing that an impending battle was bound to erupt. This scene was astonishing. The Heavenly Mandate Academy would not let solar divine palace off the hook. Soon above the sky, witnessed a group of cultivators appeared. There weren't many of them, Emperor Shi, but each one of them was like a god. No wonder Ren standing high above the void. From the looks down at solar divine palace below, it won't take long before he is as good as new. Vaguely reminded them of an event once upon a time, broken links, when all the major forces were surrounding, and looking down upon the heavenly mandated academy as soon as possible. Among them was the supreme cultivator of Ziwei the Great, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters, standing high above the sky. Radiant starlight continued to fall. Yi Futian was in a state of deep slumber, standing next to Ren. He forgot about his state of self with other powerful cultivators, starry sky, such as the Millet Emperor. In other words, next he was to the starry sky. Thus, everyone in attendance was in a state of major existence. He forgot about his state of self, the vast solar divine palace was being oppressed below. In other words, he was the starry suffocating pressure. When he was inheriting the power of many cultivators in the divine palace, his spiritual soul merged with the starry sky. They did not understand why that became one with mighty power. Hence, from sun god Shi and the others could sense that the starlight was repairing Yi Futian's heavenly mandate academy soul was here to exact its revenge. They had no idea what he had been through previously. Suddenly, therefore, solar divine palace was submerged by a terrifying divine fire. Yi Futian remained in his state from the divine palace. The injuries he suffered this time were too great. To the center of the earth. He couldn't recover in a short period of time. Divine matrix Emperor Shi and the others cultivated in the starry sky. The divine flames radiated out into a radius of Ziwei Imperial Palace were busy setting up the teleportation grand matrix. The area where the solar divine palace was now with the heavenly mandate into a terrifying blazing furnace. Since the seal had been broken. For a moment, the cultivators from solar divine palace couldn't bear this tremendous power. Ziwei Imperial Palace. Some people's faces revealed a look of shock and disbelief as their bodies turned into nothingness little by little. Many let out miserable screams. Of the heavenly mandate inside realm. Many top cultivators from solar divine palace looked at that man with great and form a strong alliance. Shock written all over their faces. Yi Futian turned out that he could not care less about whether those from the solar divine palace lived or died. Right now, if you find any errors, was to overcome the distance between non-standard and the cultivators from the outside world. Please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. It was unknown when the passageway that connected the two realms was completed. On this day, at the Heavenly Mandate Academy, many cultivators stood on a powerful starry sky teleportation grand matrix. When the light lit up, underground a beam of divine light shot up into the sky, turned into a terrifying divine sun furnace. The next moment, continued to spread into the far distance, on the starry sky with teleportation the solar divine grand matrix disappeared. The entire vast of the Heavenly Mandate Academy was on fire. All the cultivators was about their hearts tremble as they witnessed the scene. Countless people in the Heavenly Mandate City, heading higher into the sky by the occurrence, trying to escape those cultivators go to the Ziwei segmentum. However, they wondered what the legendary Ziwei was in the center. The world established by great Emperor perished under the terrible flame of the way. Would they have a chance to visit the place too? When the cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate Academy reappeared, Yi Futian and the others looked down into the lower sky. That when the figures of Lord Taishian, who had passed through the divine tribulation of the great path, Lord Taishian felt slightly emotional of the earth as he stared at the majestic flaming ore sword. He had not come here with the rest into a god of flames, so surrounded by the divine light of the flames, superpower that ruled over the Ziwei segmentum. Anyone who approached him was in danger of being burned alive. Imperial Palace. How cruel! Everyone secretly marveled. This supremely powerful figure from the upper world, over in their direction, Lord did not care much for the cultivators from him by nodding their heads and bowing slightly. To raise the earthly divine comparison to Ren. He didn't hesitate to spend the lives of those from solar divine palace or the plane they were at. Watch out! Even Lord Huangshan reminded his respect for Ren. This cultivator from Sun God Mountain couldn't give up the earthly fire of the solar realm. Feel free to have a look around Ziwei Imperial Palace. Moreover, as he was confident enough that the cultivators from Heaven Mandate Academy couldn't, and the rest followed him. After all, took a tour around the body of Imperial the great emperor. After that, there were not many who could compete with him. Has Futian recovered yet? The aura from others at this moment. Replied, he is still cultivating in the starry cultivation court. Although Yi Futian had broken into the realm of he is gradually recovering. If he suffered an attack by someone at this level, is also getting better. He would undoubtedly die from it. There shouldn't be any problems. So, he had to rely on Yi Futian to be extra careful. Let's go visit him. Boom. I'll also check out the starry cultivation court. and the infinite divine fire of the great path. Let me experience the will of the great emperor too. Thousands of miles of space, all turned into a world ruled by flames. Let's go. As if it was the realm that belonged to the divine fire. They entered Ziwei Divine Temple to access the sun god cultivation court. To transform into a veritable sun god. The millet divine wheel of the sun behind his back. Skylord were also the divine light when they shot out toward Futian. Futian's body was floating in the starry sky and was bathed in starlight. Ren Huangchen it was as though he was being baptized by the divine light. Suddenly, like a field of stars appeared around the cultivators. They were surrounded by astonished by the scene, and a world of starry skies. Actually repairing his spiritual soul light of the sun directly fell upon these stars. Right at the moment, until the terrifying divine fire seemed to engulf them all, and brilliant light shone from them. The surface of the stars began to burn little by little, causing the stars to ignite. He stood up from his initially lying position and felt very refreshed. What was happening in this area was too terrifying to behold. Now than it was before the major battle. From the solar divine palace had a desperate look on their faces, but the battle fighting here meant that they would all die for him. There would be no survivors. Someone that powerful man from the upper worlds had intended for all of them to be buried here. They had smiles on their faces. No wonder some cultivators from Sun God earlier than they had expected had already left before this. After experiencing such an intense battle, he already had a plan. He actually woke up in such a short amount of time. Divine palace in the lower world. This starry world was indeed amazing. To him, everyone here was as insignificant when he saw Emperor Shi and the rest. As such, totally without any value. Then, the only thing that really mattered was the solar realm Lord itself. Lord Taishian is here too. This caused the cultivators from Solar Divine Palace and updated to feel a deep sense of sorrow. Ren Huangchen has ordered people to build a starry sky teleportation from Sun Mountain would protect them. That connects Ziwei They never expected that the other had never even considered their safety. I have just arrived not long ago. They lived or died. I didn't expect under the power of the divine fire of the sun. Futian was pleasantly surprised actually when he heard signs of melting words. Ren Huangchen this was indeed the progress the sky below and said, he nodded at Ren Huangchen the power of the underground. Thank you, elder, for your hard work. In the land of the nine realms, palace the shadow divine stone was once found inside the shadow realm. I was doing my job. It could be the same with the solar realm. There might be divine items before I went unconscious, thus accounting for the birth of the solar realm. During the battle, the cultivator from Sun God Mountain Master arrived to the lower worlds. He had exhausted must have already begun to excavate the divine items. He received a heavy blow from Taichu Saint Emperor. It's not so strange that he couldn't be able to draw on the power of it, said Futian. Li Changxing nodded gently. Futian, came from indeed a lucky segmentum. After you went to the Shangqing domain with everything that went on in the original village. However, you got acquainted he had heard Master. That Ziwei Segmentum was previously that Master might have been inside a massive rock figure in the past. The cultivator from Sun God Mountain extended both of his hands slightly, and the body was previously a great emperor was terrifying beyond words. Master said that the divine fire that rushed out from the heart of the earth going on together. Was he the ancestor of a terrifying sun god sword? For corner great emperor? But more than that, back then, in the area above him, was the one who sent me to the village. Path circulated. Therefore, older brother should take credit for this power of the great path. Futian said to Li and had also converged and Master is a legendary figure that is not concerned with worldly matters. Sun god swords. I am also unsure of his actual identity. Aiming at the ground surrounded by the starry sky. Indeed very good to me. Bang bang. Throughout all these terrifying attacks, several cultivators had left one after another, collapsed and encountered perilous situations, broken under the attacks many of them the sun god sword. However, the terrifying Master had never interfered forward. This time, all the nearby cultivators faced danger in the original realm. The divine fire actually traversed the world to burn this boundless space. Master came to the original realm, took a step from the Shangqing domain, and a terrifying divine glory came out from his body to hold the fort. On him, everyone nodded and shot out as well. Perhaps Master could also tell that Futian was extraordinary. The intrusion of the divine original realm now? Inquired Futian. Seeing that Lord Taishian and the rest were terrifying and mighty power was flowing, they had already resolved the crisis. As he pointed the scepter forward, he had no idea what the situation was like now. Appeared. Lord Taishian toward the sun god sword after before the battle. Colliding. Master kept everyone in line. Ren Huangchen's attack was surprisingly at a slight disadvantage. Her arrival caused the cultivators of the divine sword was penetrated by the sun god sword. After that, no one stirred up any trouble. To be on the verge of being pulverized. The forces in the original realm visited the academy and offered their apologies. Said as he swept his eyes now we're to the waiting area for you below. To go back it and decide what to do with from them. Sun God Mountain. They were waiting for leverage the divine power underground because everything that happened had to do with him. No wonder the target that the enemy forces had always wanted to eliminate was any divine items from the solar realm. Lord Taishian and the rest were not qualified to decide the matter for him. The millet emperor spoke up. Regardless of his decision, He was already on his way towards
offer
the
their
sky
apologies,
below with the watchtower
repeated
on his
Yi
back.
Futian as a cold
At the
look
same
appeared
time,
in
he
his
said
eyes.
to Run Huangchen,
How could they be let off
"You know
so
what to
easily?
do, so please.
If you find any
Run
errors,
Huangchen
broken
understood
links,
what he meant by that.
non-standard content,
It was for
etc.
him to slow down
Please
the
let
opponent
us know so we can
that
fix
he
it
could
as
seal
soon
the
as
divine
possible.
power that surged underground. Boom. An even more terrifying force
Chapter
erupted from Ren
2265.
Huangchen. It was as
High-level
if he
Ren
had
Huang.
turned into a
Chapter
starry world all of his own.
2265.
Countless
High-level
starlight
Ren Huang
flowed
Yi
as he
Futian
continued
didn't
moving
leave to
forward
settle
with
the
the matters
matters
in
hand.
the lower worlds
Suddenly,
right away.
those
Instead,
sun-god swords
he lit up
continued
all
to
the
shatter
empyreal
and
stars,
collapse,
as an
allowing the
incredible power
cultivators
emerged
beneath
from
the
his
starry
body,
sky to comprehend
directly
the stars
slamming
for
toward
their
the opponent
cultivation.
at close range.
He also cultivated
As the
beneath the
cultivators
starry
from
sky.
Sun God Mountain
He had been
saw
through
the
quite a
oncoming
lot
slaughter,
recently.
a
Sacred
sacred flame
flame
shot out from
inheritance
his
of the
eyes,
imperial stars,
and that sun god
and the
like
teachings
bodies of the great
continued forward.
emperors.
His
Moreover,
palm was
he
outstretched as if it
experienced
had
a battle
turned
of
into a
life and
divine
death.
sun furnace.
He felt that his
intending to
cultivation had
incinerate
improved
Ren
by a
Huangchen.
lot. Reaching the
Reaching the
pinnacle
pinnacle
of his current
hand
plane,
hit the palm.
perhaps he could
which
try
was like
breaking
a solar
through to
forge.
the next plane.
A terrifying
Futian
force
sat
swept through the land
cross-legged
as
beneath
if
the
to shatter
starry
the
sky.
earth as well as heaven.
Starlight twinkled
However,
and showered on him.
his space remained
appeared
stable
immaculate.
with no signs of
Many
damage.
people had their
nor
gazes
did any
fixed
dark
on
cracks
him,
appear.
as though he
This
was
was
a deity.
because the entire
a lot of
space
them
had been
lamented
controlled by
internally.
the two of them.
Yi Futian
and
was
was
shrouded
sooner
by
or
their
later
way.
become a great
At
hero.
this moment,
The rest
the
were
millet
meditating.
emperor carried
Quite a
Wangshan
few of them were
watchtower toward
bathing
the ground
under the
below.
divine halo
A
of
heavenly
the
light
imperial
descended,
stars,
and
were
they were
baptized
baptized
by
by
their
their
divine
powers.
power
They
surging
could
within the
sense and
watchtower,
comprehend the
flowing
imperial
towards
stars
the ground.
easily. After
If
Yi
you find
Futian
any
lit them
errors,
up, broken
hence,
links,
as long as their
non-standard
paths matched
content,
any of the
etc.,
imperial stars,
please let us know
they
so
could
we can fix
communicate
it
and
as soon as
resonate with
possible.
them.
They
Tip.
could rely on the
You can use
imperial
left,
stars to
right,
cultivate.
A and D keyboard
This starry
keys to
world
browse
seemed to have
between
become
chapters.
a bona fide
You're
cultivation
tuning into
holy
the
land.
Lime's Wuxia
After the
Whispers
teachings
YouTube
of great
channel.
Emperor Ziwei,
We're so grateful
made
for
clear
your
to the
support.
world.
And don't
All
forget
the
to
cultivators
subscribe to
who
join us on this
cultivated under the
incredible
starry
journey
sky
through
and
captivating
received the
stories.
baptism of the
Your
powers of the
generosity
imperial
through
stars
donations truly makes
improved
a
at
world
an
of
astonishing
difference.
speed,
As it's the
Moreover,
primary source of
there were
revenue
other
that
cultivation
allows
relics
me to expand
which
and
existed
enhance
in this
this
starry
channel
sky.
for you.
The
Thank
relics
you from
were
the
very
bottom of my
beneficial
heart
for their
for being a
cultivation
part of
too.
this adventure.
Yi Futian naturally improved at the fastest rate. He absorbed the starlight in this endless